Okay, so let's elaborate on my last video here. Some of you were saying that I didn't know that Muslims are good people and that extremists are just the minority and the media has a bias against Islam. Let me respond to that real quick. Because Muslims are good people. I do believe that most Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, Jews are good people. I'm talking about the fringe. I'm talking about the people on the outskirts. And when you say that, oh, they're just a minority, yes, I know that they're just the minority. Obviously, just the minority of people in the Christian community that will go out and kill a doctor that performs abortions. I understand that that's part of the minority. Also, I understand that any Islamic person that's going to go out and terrorize people or, you know, kill their own children or like all these terrible things, that's in the minority, you know. What I'm arguing is that the Islamic minority is actually larger than the Christian minority, fringe. Like I like to use this word fringe because they're the fraying edges. They're the people that don't really matter because what they're doing is being destructive to society. When I say, you know, and that's a slippery slope there when I say that people that don't matter, they aren't influencing society in a good way. They're influencing society in a bad way. Anyone who goes out and kills someone, it doesn't have a reason of like self-defense or something like that. That's bad for society. So let's go through and look at why the Islamic fringe is actually larger and more prominent and louder and more active than the Christian fringe. I'm going to take a look here. Let me turn on this video so I can read this while I'm doing this. This is a list I have compiled of Islamic violence that happened in November. And there's a whole list of things that happened in November from the Islamic community. On the 30th of November in Egypt, there was 65 Christian shops that were damaged after a Muslim riot. On the 28th of November in Sudan, a 16-year-old Christian girl was lashed 50 times after a judge ruled that her clothing was indecent. On the 27th of November in Russia, there was an Islamic group that claimed responsibility for a bomb that killed 26 people on a train. And the 20th in Russia, there was a priest who was criticizing Islam constantly, and he received death threats constantly, and he was killed. On the 18th of November in Somalia, there was a 20-year-old woman, divorcee, that was accused of committing adultery, and she was stoned to death in front of a crowd of 200 people. On the 16th of November in Pakistan, there were 3 bombings by the Taliban that targeted girls' schools. Just like, why are you going to bomb schools? It doesn't even make any sense. On the 11th of November in Uganda, Muslim extremists with machetes and clubs injured members of a congregation outside of a church building. On the 9th of November in the Philippines, there was a school teacher that was abducted and beheaded. Again with the school teachers, what the hell? And the 9th of November in Saudi Arabia, there was a guy sentenced to death by a Medina court for witchcraft, quote unquote. In the 8th of November in Kansas City, there was an Islam convert that was charged with statutory rape for marrying a 14-year-old girl. And then the last one here is about the devout Muslim, last name Hasan, that killed all those people at the Fort Hood military base in the United States. Now, our media here is tiptoeing around this, not really saying anything about what his real worldview is. He was a devout Muslim. He had friends who were outspoken extremists. He went to a Muslim higher authority person to get advice from him. And this kind of behavior by Muslims, you know, I'm not going to call it terrorism, but I'm going to call it a devout Muslim that killed a lot of people. I mean, that's a terrible thing because that his worldview was definitely a factor in that happening. You can't deny that. I understand that this is a complex issue. I understand that I'm focusing on just Islam, and I understand that I'm focusing on just their fringe. I do understand that there's other destruction going on in the world. I'm not an idiot. Now, what my argument is that that is the most destructive religious force in our society. Now, Islam has the biggest, most active, destructive fringe in society. If someone out there can tell me that I'm wrong and support that with evidence, please let me know. Please present me with some evidence to the contrary, because I would love to see it. I would love to forward the truth. So in the meantime, what we can do is be active and be vocal about our opinions of these fringes. The Christians need to let the Pope know that condom use is good for society and that it does prevent the spread of dangerous diseases. and Muslims need to do the same for their community, and I do the same for my community. The thing that you can't do is sit around and think that time is going to solve any of your problems. Because have any of you learned from history? Because I've learned from history that time is never on anyone's side.